scenario is, what's your business? Do I need to know what that is, or just give me? All I need to know.
Financial advisor.
Good, you're a financial advisor. That's all we talked about. So loose. Let's just meet unqualified. Right. Beautiful. Sean, thanks for meeting me for coffee this morning. I know your schedule's busy, as you were saying, and mine is too. Tell me, how was networking for you? How did it wind up?
They had good coffee.
Yeah.
You know, that's about it. Same people that we're networking about.
One of the tips I always give people, and you might want to write this down because it could help you later, is that when you go to a networking event, set a goal. Meet 3 people within who will take your phone call within 3 days. Now, you were one of my 3 people. There was no qualification there. There was simply, should we meet and explore, as you and I talked about, any mutual interests we have, and whether we know people that we could work together with, or even whether there's a chance for us to work together. So just as a goal for networking, it really changed it for me when I decided I would do that, and got me out of just relationship building and got me more into meetings. Just out of curiosity, why did you decide to meet with me?
You seem like a nice enough guy, and to be honest, I have to meet with a certain number of people as well every week, just to make sure my pipeline is filled up.
Good. How do you want to go about this? Maybe I should know a little bit more about you, and you should know a little bit more about me, and we can create an agenda from that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense.
Good. Who goes first?
What would you like to know from me? I'm a financial advisor. I've been in the business for 5 years now. Northwestern Mutual, fairly reputable company. I've had some success, but I'm finding out I'm running out of people to talk to.
Hopefully you're not offended, but what does financial advisor mean? Because I hear, it's almost a buzzword to me. I hear that a lot. I hear Northwestern a lot.
Sure.
You guys seem to be all over. What does that mean?
So I typically help people with X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
Have you had any experience working with people?
Yeah, I have one that I've been working with for a long time. He calls himself a financial advisor too, so I was just curious how you view it.
Sure.
And so, how do you work with people? What are the 3 things that people bring you in to work with them on?
Stability, planning for the future.
Good.
And finally, we're trying to build that trusted advisor relationship in waters that most people don't know how to swim in.
Yeah, my guy does the same thing, and we have the same issues you're talking about. There's a whole world of prospects out there. How are you finding new business?
And it's starting to dry up. My referral pond is starting to dry up. But I feel like when I ask for referrals, people aren't giving me a call back, or the referral source never told them I was going to give them a call, so I was just being a pest.
Sure. You know I'm a professional development guy, and one of the things my business focuses on is helping people like you overcome challenges. Is getting referrals a challenge that we should talk about?
Yeah, I guess that could be one of them.
Okay. You say one of them, that means there are a couple more?
Referrals, just gaining new business in general.
How do you go about that right now? And I'm sorry I'm asking a lot of questions. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, no, this is fine. Networking like I was last night. The referral sources that I can just keep on calling on. Those are the 2 main ones, and I kind of bank on my existing customers and friends to help me out.
Sure. Let's make this hour worthwhile to you. Let me teach you something. There are 5 ways that professionals prospect in today's world, and each one of those 5 has a reason that it exists. Cold calling is one, and whenever I say that, people shudder. But you have to be good at it, because there's a whole market out there that you have to be able to reach into. Second is some type of mail approach, whether it's electronic mail or whether it's direct mail. By the way, 2 of the lowest forms of prospecting, 1% and about a 2% closing rate. Third area is networking, and we talked a little bit about some of the challenges you may have there. Networking should close at about a 50% rate. Is that happening for you?
No, not even close.
What would you guess you're closing at?
Probably the same as cold calling.
Okay, and so 3%, 5%?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, good. So networking should close at a higher rate, and the bottom line is most people who go to networking are professional visitors. They just go there to critique the baby carrots and the sparkling water and sit talking to their friends. And so bigger challenge we have is that goal of professional introductions. Third area is referrals. You mentioned referrals, and referrals close at about a 75% rate if it's executed the right way. And what we find are most people don't execute referrals the right way. So I notice you're not writing any of these things down. Are you comfortable with these?
Yeah, of course.
So you're doing most of these then?
No.
Okay. All right, and then the last is business introductions. Business introductions close at a 90% rate. Typically, a client that you might have knows someone that you might need to know who has the same problems that they're facing, and that testimonial lunch or business introduction lunch closes at a high rate. I do one of those a week. How many are you doing?
I don't know if any.
So let's come back to your business growing, and then we'll talk a little bit about me if you want. Is your business growing at the rate you want it to?
No, I can always have more business.
And so what about the 5 things that I just said to you that we use to grow our business? What do you think the relationship to business growth in those is?
I think it would have some impact, but it's ultimately going about executing it the right way.
Yeah, and the right way is really the key. What would you like to know about me?
Well, Bill, I mean, I know kind of what you do, sales training.
Part of it is sales training.
Okay. What's your spiel? What do you normally do? I mean, you gave me a few good things.
Think of professional development and
Okay.
think of 20-60-20. 20% of salespeople are high performers, just 20%. Those people are really focused on professional development and find a way to do it. They either do it with me or they do it online, or they find a way to continue to grow because the market keeps changing. 60% of salespeople are mediocre performers or variable performers. They kind of are stuck in no man's land and talk about growing but don't have the commitment to grow. Then there's the bottom 20% who don't even belong in sales. Now, these are people who defaulted into a sales career and they're struggling like hell. And the bottom line is they have no intention of getting out of it, just whining about their circumstance.
Sure.
Where would you put yourself?
Yeah, a good question. I don't think I've really looked at it. I think I want to be the top 20% along with everybody else, but not really sure.
Yeah, okay.
How do you quantify that?
Well, are you 100, let's think December 31st, which is about 90 days away. Are you 100% committed to a dollar amount that you're going to make this year?
I have an idea. I'm not committed to it, though. I have an idea and a range of what I'm going to make.
Hopefully you're not offended, but that doesn't put you in the top 20%.
Okay.
Hopefully is what people in the middle 60% say. And that's the challenge of that middle 60%. They know where they want to go, but if you're taking notes, they don't have the conviction and commitment to get there. And one last thing, probably not even the competency. So if you and I were going to talk further, we would pick one of the 3 things that you just said to grow your business, and we would dig a little deeper into it. Do you want to do that now? We seem to have about half an hour left.
Sure. Well, I guess, what's your process in helping somebody like me? I know that we talked about 3 things, but...
Have you worked with anybody as a coach or a trainer before?
No, Bill, I hope you don't take offense to this. A lot of it seems like fluff.
Again.
Who needs a coach
Yeah.
for business?
Sure.
I mean, I have a manager.
Yep.
And he coaches.
Yep. That may put you again in that middle 60% because those are the types of comments. Think of Olympic athletes who are trying to get the gold medal. They have coaches. Think of executives who are at the next levels. Think of Steve Jobs as a good example. He has a coach. You think of the people at the highest level who perform. They have an opposite attitude that you have. And so, maybe based on what you just said and fluff, we should probably end the meeting a little early.
No, Bill, I mean, I like you. I just putting that out there because it seems like everybody nowadays calls himself a coach.
Sure.
My manager's coaching meeting is a little bit less than a scolding than it is
Yeah.
a coaching session.
What if I tell you that only 30% of my clients like me, but 100% of my clients are more effective because they work with me? What does that tell you?
It tells you're pretty efficient at what you do and not afraid to shoot it straight.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge of a coach. I'm being a little hard on you right now, and I apologize for it, but I think the issue is I see something in you that you might not see in yourself. And so, you've told me things that put you in that middle 60%. I happen to think you may be, and whether you work with me or not, our top 20% who just doesn't know how to get there. So again, back to, are there any of the 3 things that were problems for you that you'd like to explore further?
There are, and I'm just curious to hear more about the actual road path of getting from the 60 to 20. I mean, is it like a webinar that you guys do? Is it a one-day type boot camp? I go to these meetups and there's this guy, he keeps on, every time I see him, he's hosting a one-day boot camp. First time I met him was $5.99, second time $4.99,
Yeah, sure.
and now it's $2.99.
Sure. Did you ever go to one of those?
No.
In anything? Did you ever go to a seminar at the chamber or anything?
Yeah, the chamber has a pretty good events.
Good. Let's go to 2 weeks after that event that you've attended. What typically happens to the information you learned in that event?
Yeah.
Most
Nothing.
people, as the days go by, use less and less and less of it. They leave that event highly motivated, but then they get to the point 2 weeks later where the flavor of the month kicks in.
Right.
And guess what? And so I think the model is, ours is reinforced learning. Now, we reinforce that learning a lot of different ways. We realize that your salesperson today is someone who's on the go all the time, so we have some type of online presence, a learning system that you can tap. We have a classroom presence that we believe is more effective than the online, but the online supports. We have training material, and we have streaming videos, and you have the ability to work with a coach. All of that is packaged specifically for the individual who comes to us. So can I tell you exactly what would work for you? No, not at this point. But I think the bigger challenge is, you want to know how to find out? There's an assessment that we have. We're behavioralists, and what we do is we teach people that if they're the right person and they're doing the right behavior, we can help them grow to that top 20%. So the first step to consider is, whether you want to invest in some type of assessment for yourself. If you chose to do that, training is not on the table, the assessment is on the table. And if we got that far, I'd bring in a partner of mine who is a training specialist to talk to you, but we're not even close to that yet, because we don't even know what's going on down deep inside.
Sure. It's funny, I see a lot of your presentation style in what I do with my clients. And back up, I mean, I do sell investment products, right? But I heard the word invest. Web portal, classroom training, coach, it sounds expensive.
Tell me what you deem expensive for an assessment that would give you that snapshot of strengths and weaknesses.
I guess I'd have to do some research. I have no idea.
Okay, we're not to even coming up with the price yet, because that could be fairly customized too. I think more importantly, why would you even invest in something that's an x-ray of your current position?
I think right now where I am in my career, I'm leveling out, and I've stopped growing financially, and that's ultimately why I thought it might be a good idea to talk to somebody like you. But again, I don't have a pile of cash that I'm sitting on
No, I get it.
to invest.
Yeah.
So
Sounds to me like you use money to make decisions. Money is important to you.
yeah, it's very, very important, I would say. But
Well,
I think it is for everybody.
Money for the people who come to us is secondary to impact. And so, the challenge is, I could tell you that I'm going to charge you $4,000 for an assessment, and you would say, are you crazy? But here's what I would say. If we figured out the impact of not being able to achieve your goals that you're 100% committed to, and it was costing you $10,000 a month, tell me about $4,000 versus $10,000.
It's very true.
And that's the investment. I'm sure you do the same thing in your financial planning world.
Yeah, I do. So that's what they run, is about 4,000?
No, not even close to that, but just
Okay.
as a specific example. So I think, the model that we have is, the investment in an evaluation will cost you somewhere between $300 and $500. And you may say, that's a ton of money. And so I think the issue in spending somewhere in that range is, you have to ask yourself, is knowing what's holding me back from becoming a top 20%er important enough to invest in myself? And that really is where we are at this point.
Okay.
You want to get out of role play just for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's debrief what happened, because there are a lot of moves in there that I'm sure you were using what people are using on you, and there are a lot of moves in there you were observing, so you're going to jump in for observation first. But were some of the things you were saying real stuff that you're facing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so, Rich, do first and then you guys second.
So, great job of throwing out,
I thought so, too.
typical objections
Yeah.
that you're gonna hear, or just pushback or reluctance for people to be open or even learning about this type of thing. What I really liked about Bill was you challenged Sean at every step of the way, and so he would throw an objection, and you would challenge him, and it all started with 20-60-20, and now he wants to put himself in that top 20, and you can see the internal struggle. Well, shit, I'm not in the top 20. I know I'm not, but I need this kind of save face, and you could see it. It was like wiggly, right? And that's what our prospects will do, because they want to position themselves in that top 20, and so that's where the conversation went. I thought that was really, really good, because that's where it starts.
Yeah.
What if I told you 30% of my clients like me and 100% of my clients are more effective after working with me? Again, and then Sean drew the conclusions there. Yeah, well, you're pretty blunt, you're concise, you tell them what they want, what they need to hear versus what they want to hear. Now he's selling you, and you don't have to sell yourself. Money versus impact. That's a big one. I don't know that maybe you've said it before and I just haven't caught it. So just throwing a number out there, $4,000 for an assessment, but the impact is if we figure out you have a $10,000 a month problem, now tell me what 4,000 versus 10,000 is to you.
And stop there just for a minute, because I tailored that move specifically for you, because you're hearing that a lot, so that's why you haven't heard it before.
Yeah.
That was just tailored for this conversation. Go ahead.
But again, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's costing me $120,000 in my pocket, and I can figure out what these issues are for $4,000, at that point, it makes some sense.
And
you
establishing
went back-
4,000, because what I want him to say is what he said. Are you telling me it's $4,000? Now, 300 or 300 to 500 doesn't seem like a hell of a lot of money, because I've already planted the seed.
So you challenged him twice, including one saying maybe we should end the meeting, if that's your mentality, if it's the mentality of the middle 60%er. And you went back 3 different times to his top 3 sales issues. So we just kept going back to those things and saying, are they important, and making him opt in until finally they were important enough for him to opt in.
Yeah, and those are the 3 moves based on what you and I have coached that I think are going to be important for you when you watch this again, because
Right.
those are 3 things that will take that. Well, tell me what you do, tell me how you, remember you're getting that a lot. And so you did it to me exactly the way they were doing it to you. And so then the challenge is, I now can create a jambalaya of different things that we do, and you see them all, but now they're customized to you. So it's not like, I don't want to sit in a classroom, it's not like, I don't want to do mobile, it's, here are all the elements. We don't know what they are for you until we get a little closer.
Again, yeah, positioning and it's all positioning towards the assessment.
Right.
We do all these different things, we've got all these resources for you that you can use at your disposal to get you to that top 20%. But I can't sit here and tell you which one you need.
I love the coaching is a fuzzy thing comment too. You're gonna hear that a lot
Yes.
too. We're gonna hear it with franchisees for crying out loud, so.
This coaching meeting.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, to be able to not defend, but to establish why people use a coach to get to the next level and to get from that 60 to 20 is really a key thought. Okay, your turn. First before we do Lynn's.
You know, literally everything that I kind of threw your way, I've heard in the last 2 weeks-ish.
Mhm.
Definitely not as strong a response as yours, obviously, but, I mean, ultimately, there is nothing new other than like, you know, investment versus impact. It's all the same stuff, right? Coming back around, loop after loop.
Yep.
It's just structure.
It's all talk tracks.
Right.
It's all getting
Structure-
comfortable with talk tracks.
Structure it the right way.
Yep.
I like 20-60-20, leading in the beginning and going back to that, but it's.
And I tried to put myself in you just selling evaluations
Right,
right now,
yeah.
saying, if we get that far, we're not even close to that, I'd bring in a training partner to talk to you
Right.
about it. So, you know, I think the idea for you is that's the thought when people push for training.
Right.
We're not even sure you need it, and if we get that far, I have someone who's a specialist in that area who can
Right.
help you.
And that's, because I'm talking to a lot of people who would ultimately self-invest, that's exactly how the conversation needed to go.
Yep. Lynn's?
Yeah, Sean and I had talked yesterday, and probably the 2 of you did as well, you and Bill, but about really throwing back at you a lot of the typical things that he's getting. So I thought you did just a great job, and you gave a lot of vague responses that maybe he was hoping you'd give him more, and you just kind of were like, I haven't thought about it. So you felt kind of had to weave it a different direction. I agree the 70-30 is very powerful. It's just getting the guts and confidence to say it. Not that you wouldn't have that, I'm just saying generally, I mean, that's something where you have to feel pretty confident to say, well, 30%. Or 30% like me, is that what it was?
Yep.
And I think even if you didn't close that person, that would probably resonate a little bit, and if they ever had a conversation with somebody else who was like, I'm looking for a consultant or I need help, they would
Yeah.
say, man, I talked to this guy, I don't know, that would just resonate in my mind, like having that kind of like potency within a meeting. The impact of the dollar amount, I remember I would try to do that when I was in calls a lot and really try to identify what's an average sale for you. I remember I was sitting with like a copy and print guy, he made signs, and like an average sale for him wasn't huge. It was probably $3,000 or something, or $4,000, and whatever, we kind of whittled it down to what would happen for you if you could make 5 more of those a year.
Right.
You know, and that's $15,000 or whatever it was, I'm just throwing numbers out there. And then you compare that to $400, it's like, you know, so I think especially at the beginning of the year coming up, that's a great conversation to have as far as like,
agree.
what are your goals, how are you gonna get there, and then you chunk it down to,
I totally agree.
so I think, yeah, the impact is a huge piece. If you can lead it to a way where it doesn't get numbers
Right.
and you're just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that these could degenerate into numbers conversations real too fast, and if they do, you're out. And I think the challenge of money versus impact is really the issue. If you're the type of person who makes a decision based on dollars, anything I tell you
Right.
will be too much. But if you make it on impact, then we can figure out what's the right price.
Yeah, even if it's how much, whatever your salary is, you don't have to tell me what it is, but how much more would you like to make by the end of the year? And they say $30,000. You can say, well, if you do 1 extra sale a month, you can get there.
Right. I hate to do this, I have
You
to
gotta
go,
go now?
so,
Yep,
don't wanna do it.
go.
All right, thank you guys, that
Thank you.
was helpful. Sorry, Ashley.
That's okay.
Running out on you.
That's okay. Oh, I was just gonna say, I thought it was good that you didn't ever defend anything.
Yep,
That it just stayed very casual.
intellectual and casual.
And I don't know, but I would assume that the people that Sean's meeting with are expecting him to
Yep,
defend all
no
that.
question.
Like when they say, oh, well, coaching just seems like a lot of fluff. Immediately, you would think someone would go in defense mode and like, well, you know, you just kept it very, it's like, oh, it's not, but you know, if you think that, then we can just end the meeting now.
Yeah.
And that immediately puts people in that, like, oh, no, I didn't mean to offend you, so just that.
And that's always, and you know this because you do it, that's always the acid test. Are you strong enough about the midway point to challenge them to end the meeting?
Right.
And if you are, that's the smoke detector that says if they don't end the meeting there, you're on to something.
Right,
And now it's a matter of figuring out what you're on to.
yeah.
So,
The other point that I hope was apparent was that it wasn't you just asking questions. And again, I saw this for myself and was surprised and wasn't surprised on Wednesday when I got home. And it's just simply, we're going to be talking a little bit about what it is that we do. And you were giving some teaching moments in there, saying here's what we know about salespeople, these are the 5 activities that they need to do, here are some numbers for you. So we can start to position, again,